What's up, guys? All right, so for lesson 3-8 today, we're going to be modeling tenths with fraction circles. All right, now what we're going to be talking about today is taking those fractions, okay, and we're also going to be introducing decimals. If you haven't checked out what is a decimal video on my YouTube channel, you need to go check that out. It's also linked on the page as well. So, what we're going to talk about today is when we are writing out a decimal or converting a fraction to a decimal, the unit or place to the immediate right of the decimal point is called the tenths place. So we're going to be taking fractions and decimals and using models to show us what these fractions and decimals look like. Okay, so for example, if I had 0.3, the 0 in the ones place represents a whole. Okay, so that could be the whole piece. If you looked at number 1 and number 2, if I had filled in this whole thing and had another circle over here, fraction circle with the fractional pieces, this would represent the whole. That would be the fraction. Okay, then you have your decimal point. Your decimal point, like I said, it breaks up the whole number. So this 0 right here, and the 3, which is the fractional piece. And then finally, the 3 behind the decimal point is in the tenths place. Okay, and we're going to be talking about hundredths later, but today we're going to focus mainly on tenths. Okay, so let's look right here. We have the decimal can represent fractions. Okay, so we have decimals here, and they can actually represent fractions. So I'm going to get my little pen out. Okay, all right, so I have this model right here. It's broken into tenths, so I know that my fraction denominator is going to be 10. Okay, all right. With this being said, how many pieces were shaded in, or how much does this fraction circle represent? Well, I have 1 and I have 2 green pieces. Okay, so I have 2 pieces out of 10. Now, for my decimal, this is out of tenths. See how we have 10 in the denominator? It's out of tenths. So I don't have any whole, okay? So this whole thing is not filled in. I have a fractional piece of it, and this is 2 in the tenths place. So just like 3 is over here in the tenths place, the 2 is in the tenths place. Then for number 2, this one is not broken into tenths. This one is broken into fifths, but I'm going to show you later on how you can change fifths to tenths. So we're just going to do fifths right now. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total pieces. How many are shaded in, or how many does it represent? 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. So I have 4 fifths. I'm going to take this. Now, how do I get from fifths to tenths? Because I want to change them to tenths. I multiply this by 2, because 5 times 2 is 10. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 4 times 2 is 8. So this is actually 8 tenths. If I were to break all of this into 10 equal pieces, I would have to shade in 8 to be equivalent to 4 fifths. I would write my decimal 0.8. Okay? All right. So now that we kind of understand this, and if you don't, that's okay. That's all right. We're going to do a little bit more practice with this by finding equivalent fractions, then changing them to decimals. Okay? All right. So we can convert fractions to make tenths. So I have the fraction here, 3 fifths. 3 out of 5. That equals something, I don't know how many pieces that is, out of 10 total pieces. Most of the time when you're going from fifths to tenths, you're going to multiply by 2 each time. You have to double check. 5 times 2 equals 10. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 3 times 2 equals 5. Oh, 6. Sorry, I added. Look at that. Even I'm making mistakes. All right, 6 tenths. All right, so my answer would be 6 tenths if I needed it in tenths. All right, so 3 fifths and 6 tenths are equivalent. Okay. 1/5. If I have 1/5 here, okay, again, I need to set up my problem for my two fractions. So I don't have all my information at the top, but I do have information at the bottom. So I have information here and information here. 5 times 2 again equals 10. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 1 times 2 is 2. So 2/10 is the same thing as saying 1/5. Okay, so I have 1/5. It's the same thing as saying 2/10. All right, now let's move on to comparing decimals using um, the less than, greater than, or equal sign. So we're going to make this, extend this out a little bit. Let me get my pen back here. All right, so I have the decimals 0.3 and 0.7. Okay, we're going to color in each one of these. This one's going to be 0.3. This one's going to be 0.7. So I have to try to compare these two based on what they represent. So I have fraction circles here. They're both broken into tenths because we are dealing with the tenths place. This one is 0.3, so I'm going to color in 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Amazing. Now I'm going to color in 7 of these because it's 7 out of 10 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Done. Now I have to ask myself, how can I make this a true statement? Well, which one is larger based on my model here? 7/10 is larger. So I create 0.3 is less than 0.7. Okay? All right, now what we're going to do is we are actually going to go to the next page. So this is in your book. This is actually page 89 in your book for the lesson. And we're going to go through, and I'm going to do the first one for each one of these to kind of show you what it looks like. So let's look at number 1. It says write a fraction and a decimal below each circle. So again, just like what we did on the other page, we have our model and we have to write the fraction and the decimal. So this is broken into tenths. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces out of 10. So there's my fraction, 8/10. And then my decimal would be 0.8. All right? Because this is the tenths place, and there's 8 that go in there. All right? Okay. Then you just need to complete numbers 2 and 3. Number 4, we need to color part of each circle to show the decimal. Then name the fraction that is colored. All right, so this one gave us the decimal. We have to come up with the fraction and color it into the circle. Well, this is 1/10. All right, so that's 1 out of 10 possible pieces. Okay, see how this is broken into tenths? Okay, so I have 1 that I have to color in. I'm done. Okay, now 5 is pretty easy. You just have to figure that one out. 6 can be a little challenging, but I'm going to let you know they already gave you that this is 4/10. So you kind of have to work backwards. So instead of multiplying by 2 to come up with your answer, you have to divide by 2. Okay, so 10 divided by 2 equals, how many pieces do we have here? So I'll leave you with that. All right. And then finally, 7 through 14, we're going to do number 7 together. All right. So I have 2/10 and 9/10. Okay. So if I were to draw these out with a model and break these into 10 pieces, I would have to color in how many pieces for each. This, I would color in only 2 pieces. This, I would color in 9 total pieces. Well, would you rather have 2 pieces of the pie or 9 pieces of the pie? Okay, I would rather have 9 pieces of that pie. Okay, so 9 is your greater decimal here. Okay, because 2 out of 10 pieces, and then you have 9 out of 10 pieces. This one is closer to a whole, so that's why this one is greater. They have the same denominator, so we can compare them easily. Hopefully this helps. Work on numbers 8 through 14, as well as math boxes. Make sure you get those done. If you need any more help, let us know as your teachers, and we can help you as best as possible. All right, have fun.